Justice Stephen Breyer is going to retire from the Supreme Court at the end of the current term. At least that's what NBC News is saying. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and dig into that story from NBC News, and if it is true, and if Breyer is going to retire, what it kind of means about where politics currently stand as a whole. So before we get into that, my name is Dan. This is the Soule of Wisdom. Thank you for joining me here today. If you've not already done so with this channel, please do consider hitting the like button, subscribe to this channel, share it with other people. These things all help get the show out in front of more people. We are growing fast. We will grow even faster with your help, so I appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and dig right into this story, which is just coming across from NBC as breaking news. They say that Stephen Breyer is going to retire from the Supreme Court, paving the way for a Biden appointment. Pete Williams writes, Justice Stephen Breyer will step down from the Supreme Court at the end of the current term, according to people familiar with his thinking. So I will stress right now that makes this a speculative piece. This is not fact-based. So I'll be curious if there's any release in the next day or two that's actually more concrete than this. But this is what they're saying. Story goes on, Breyer is one of 3 remaining liberal justices. His decision to retire after more than 27 years on the court allows Joe Biden to appoint a successor, which could serve for several decades and maintain the 6-3 split. At 83, Breyer is the oldest court member. Liberal activists have urged him for months to retire, while Democrats hold both the House and the Senate. They criticize Ginsburg for sitting there too long. The progressive group Demand Justice, meanwhile, has hired a truck last year to drive around the Supreme Court's neighborhood bearing the sign, Breyer retire, it's time for Black woman Supreme Court Justice. Okay, whatever. Biden has pledged to make such an appointment. Among likely contenders are federal judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, former Breyer law clerk, and Leonda Kruger, a justice of California Supreme Court. Breyer was appointed by Bill Clinton. Biden is expected to act quick to nominate a successor who can be ready to serve on the court's new term, which begins October 3. A former chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he knows firsthand how the confirmation process works. So he's talking about Biden being a former member of the committee. Okay. So, again, this piece is a little bit speculative because he's highlighting or citing people with knowledge of the situation. This is always a little bit of kind of BS reporting, in my opinion. But in the same respect, the man is in his 80s. There is pressure on him to step aside so they can appoint somebody else. And I think what this says as a whole, if it is true, even if it's not true, honestly, is I think it means that the Democrats are not only, I don't even think panic's the right word, I think they're acknowledging that they are going to lose power in November at this point. I'm going to go ahead and pull up one other thing. So this is a Real Clear Politics poll that was actually just published today. And this is the 2022 generic congressional vote. And the RCP average, and this poll is, would you prefer to see Republicans or Democrats in control of Congress? And the RCP average is 47.1% Republicans versus 43% Democrats. So Republicans plus 4.1. And if you go through the 10 polls that they average here, only the Economist YouGov poll and the NBC News poll have Democrats up in the polling. And even then, only barely. The YouGov plus 4 and the NBC News poll plus 1. But if you look at the others, there's 2. There's Fox News and Quinnipiac, which are Republicans plus 1. But the rest, Insider Advantage, Republicans plus 7, Monmouth plus 8, Harvard Harris plus 6, Trafalgar plus 14, Rasmussen, Republicans plus 9. So there is definitely a sentiment out there that the public wants to give control of Congress back to the Republicans, and maybe in large wave. As it stands right now, there are 30 Democrats who have said they will not seek re-election. They're going to retire from Congress. I believe at this point it's 29 House members and 1 senator. But that says, too, that they don't expect to win. They don't expect to maintain power. So it makes sense right now that if Breyer is going to move out of the Supreme Court, that he do it now and he do it quickly while they still have the ability to appoint who they want. And I would suspect that they go as far left as possible with this appointment in order to counteract the 6 justices that are either very right or at least right-leaning. Though I think some of them you could argue are a little more centrist or maybe even center-left in the case of Roberts sometimes. But I think that's what's going on here. I think that either Breyer has made up his mind that he's going to retire, or this piece is yet another piece of pressure to possibly get him to retire. Either way, it wouldn't surprise me if he does, and it doesn't surprise me that the Dems would try to make this move right now, because all indications are they're probably going to lose and lose big come November. So it makes sense for them to try to get rid of the oldest justice that they have now. Because if they don't do it now and the Republicans get in power, don't think for a moment that they would not allow anything except somebody fairly center-leaning, to any person like that, to get on that court. If it's at all a left-leaning nominee, they're not going to let him on. So it makes sense. So that's my take on it at the moment. We'll see where the story goes. Like I said, this piece is a little bit of BS reporting, in my opinion. I hate articles that say people with knowledge of the situation. That's very vague, and I don't think that it's overly good reporting. But we'll see. There could be some truth to it. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments about this. Do you think that Breyer is going to retire? Do you think it's time for him to do it? And do you think it makes sense for the Dems to make this move now? Whether you're right or left-leaning, I get the strategy of it personally, but let me know your thoughts. That'll do it for now. Until the next time I see you, thank you for watching.